All right, so there it is. Right on the 4:25 minute mark, we're going to get started right away. We're going to talk about UFC 324 and then the upcoming UFC 325 that is coming up. And then on top of that, we're going to talk about the ICE shooting that happened in Minnesota, which, by the way, a lot of you are going to be very surprised of the outcome on this particular matter. I'm going to tell you why you're going to be surprised, because this police officer is going to be let go. I promise you guys. They're going to let him go because they can prove that this male nurse was a physical threat to him or the officers. There's a lot of ambiguity that's going on with this particular news coverage. What I will say is that it is extremely polarizing with good reason. News coverage. With good reason.
This is what your ear looks like.
There is a good reason why this is a highly contested issue. Because I need you guys to understand something. Two things can be true. Two things can be right at the same time. Does anybody believe in that? Because I do. That is how the world works. The world works in nuances, okay? In other words, it doesn't work in the idealist aspects of what you think law and justice should be. It doesn't necessarily fall under what is morally right, if whatever that means. You're going to have to define exactly what anomalist is, you know, and in what context do you mean? Okay, so I see what you're saying. I kind of understand why you are using that context for this particular reality, but really, two things can be correct at the same time, all right? Let me give you an example, okay? Is this job of a police officer really difficult? Yes. Are police officers being threatened on a daily basis? Yes. He says, damn, didn't get the notification. Yeah, you know, that seems to be normal. You know, procedures from YouTube, for whatever reason, they don't send it out, or I don't know, man. You know, but once again, it kind of goes into the theme of what we're talking about. Two things can be true at the same time. Okay, two things can be true at the same time. He says, how long have you been live? 7 minutes, actually. 3 minutes to be exact, because I had an intro music playing in the background. And yeah, so here we are right now. Okay, so yeah, just doing a little bit of an intro, right? He says, you are an eliminativist. You are an eliminativist. So, oh, okay, you're asking me. So you're asking me if, you know, I hold radical philosophical views primarily in philosophy of the mind that argues our common sense's understanding of mental state, beliefs, desires, and it's is fundamentally wrong, and that these states don't actually exist. Okay, so proposing that they'll be replaced by concepts from neuroscience's understanding of the brain's advancements. Instead of reducing mental state to brain's reductionism, eliminativism seeks to eliminate these folk philosophies, concepts, or false illusory, much like scientists abandon concepts like plogistons or witches. Okay. He says, no, he's a feminist, though. Who did you say was a feminist? He was just talking the other day how women should be the head of the household. Okay, who are you talking about? Are you talking about the nurse who got shot? The male nurse, Alex Preety, I believe his name is. Is that who you're talking about, Marty? Or are you talking about something else. Yeah, who did you say? Who's a feminist? Yeah, who's a feminist? Who are you talking about? Let me know. So there seems to be a lot of conflicting, stories with this particular matter, right? Let's take a look at what some people are saying out there.
In a juvenile detention facility, you may be entitled to $580,000 or more.
People from getting hurt. ICE is out there, immigration enforcement. We've heard Bavino press conference.
No, who are you talking about that said that? Are you talking about someone in the chat? Who are you talking about?
Is the government going to shut down the funding of DHS? What's going to happen here? What is going to happen here? And there's a lot of other things going on, a lot of other moving parts. Fraud in Minnesota, a lot of fraud talk, investigations, grand jury subpoenas. Where does this all...
So obviously, fraud is also the big topic at hand in Minnesota, right? Look, here's the thing about the fraud thing, right? A lot of people are so outraged by this. They're like, oh my goodness, the Somalians, I can't believe that they actually defrauded people or this, that, and the other, right? Well, why can't you? The government frauds you on a daily basis. Like, is it any coincidence that a lot of you... Oh, okay. He says, I was making a stupid joke about you because the guy asked if you were Oh, okay. Got it. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Definitely not a feminist. That's definitely not in the criteria of, of Islamic standards or, Islamic way of living. But, obviously, yeah, just everything that goes wrong in the world is obviously, from that school of thought. Armin says Matthew criticizes strict rule followers who miss justice, mercy, and faithfulness. Okay, Armand, is that in reference to the ICE shooting right now? Is that a Bible verse that you're pulling up? Is it specifically because of what is going on right now? Now, look, here's my stance on this, right? The officers... in this particular case, I think can prove that their life was a threat simply because this nurse had a gun. Now, for whatever reason, this male nurse, Alex Preeti, right, he had his gun in a holster. Now, that right there is a troubling part about this whole entire story. Okay, it's very troubling because it's an open carry state. He's allowed to have it. He has documents and papers that show that he is a legal owner of a firearm. But that can also be used against him because throughout this scramble that was going on, it was very ambiguous to see what was happening. Okay, so I heard that they disarmed him before they shot him. Correct. Now, that right there is where a lot of this can really fall horrible for these agents. The thing is that in the military, there's a certain protocol and procedure that you have to follow before you get into a shootout. Okay? A lot of people don't know that attached to infantry groups are JAG officers. And for those of you that don't understand what a JAG officer is, they are basically lawyers for the military or the UCMJ, right? The Uniform Code of Justice. Armin says, Second Amendment can't wait till Americans exercise that right. Second Amendment right was holstered in his hands. We're trying to hold his upper body on all fours. Yes, someone asked in the chat if I am Muslim. Yes, I happen to be Muslim. Yes, thank you for asking. So there's a lot of ambiguity that's going on here, right? There's a lot of arguments that people are making that 47 days is all that it takes to be an ICE agent. And this is insane. You think about the Marine Corps. You go through a boot camp that is 13 weeks, right? Just the things that you learn First of all, they literally spend a whole entire week, 1 or 2 weeks of breaking down your whole entire individual. Okay? And once they do that, then they move on to marching, being able to act as a unit, right? Obviously, the physical part is there. You do obstacles, you do rope climbing, you wake up very early in the morning for chow. You have your regular squad leaders. You have guys that are, you know, blazing everybody else into PFT. And then there's guys that are slow pokes. They can't barely make 27 minutes in 3 miles. And so, yeah. And then on top of that, you move on to firearms training, right? I'm just saying there's a lot of extensive training that goes into being a Marine, and especially being, let's say, deployed out for duty. Other things that Marines do as well, for those of you that don't know, they also do embassy duty, right? So there's all of these things that you are trained for to be a Marine, to be out in combat, or to at least be competent in combat. And here's the thing, right? There's a lot of Marines that don't have combat roles, yet they have much better skills than your average police officer, let alone now your ICE agent. He says, are you Muslim American first, or are you Muslim first? Well, here's the thing, right? You can never put your religion above your nationality. Now, am I American? Yes, I am. I proudly live in Sacramento, California. I love California. I love America. I love everything that this land has to offer. I love the identity that America has given me. But at the same time, I am Muslim first. Okay, but it doesn't mean that I'm anti-American or hate America or hate Americans. It just means that I am Muslim first, and I'm American second. So I hope that answers your question in terms of where I stand on certain things. So I love America. You can love your religion, but you can also love your country. And for those of you that know anything about America, obviously America is founded on religious principles. John Seal says, then leave. You see, that's a very stupid thing for you to say. Why am I going to leave a situation where I'm doing primarily better than you in? I'm going to tell you something, John Seal. The majority of Americans don't even have $5,000 in their bank account. Do you understand? He says, would you fight Iran against, would you fight for Iran against America? Of course not. I'm not even a Shia. So he says, yet they gladly support Israel. Evil, are you talking about America, meaning that they support Israel? Yes, that is one thing that I obviously may disagree with America on, but to the position that America has in the world, they obviously have to either facilitate other people or give other people money by means of charity and things of that nature. But at the same time, unfortunately, I do see a certain biasness that America holds for one particular country. John Seals says America first. Okay, well, in regards to Middle Eastern policies, I'm going to have to agree with you on that. Nico says, would you fight for any Islamic state against America? No, of course not. That's a very ridiculous question to ask. Let's hear what this is right here.
Approved 12 federal emergency disaster declarations within 24 hours for the states of Arkansas, Georgia, Indiana, Kentucky, Louisiana, Maryland, Mississippi, North Carolina, South Carolina, Tennessee, Virginia, and West Virginia, enabling these states to access critical federal resources to supplement.
Okay, so they're talking a whole bunch of hoopla, nothing, just, where they're going to allocate their money and this and that. Brad Pitbull says, God first, family second, America third. Okay, I may have to agree with you on that even more. Obviously, because religion is important to me first. Well, what is the point of religion without having a family, right? So family comes with that. And then obviously the place where you live to make it better, which is America or whatever country in the world that you are watching from. So how about this? Why don't I just go send you to the Shadow Realm, right? This guy comes in here and tells me on my own page to shut the F up. And yet he's coming on my page to say this, to feel compelled to feel better about himself. Let me go back to what John Seal said to me, right? Because John Seal, I'm going to put you on blast right now. Okay, you talk about how I should leave America, right? Okay, first of all, I'm living better than most of you Americans here, and that's just the God honest truth, okay? If you watched my live streams or my channel long enough, I think a lot of you would realize that I probably live better than most Americans, okay? Why am I going to leave a country where I do better than most people? You know what I mean? Why am I going to leave a country where I'm doing better than most people? I understand the land here. I understand the culture. I understand the people. I can operate within America because I know how Americans work. I am American. I know how to, I know how to operate in this particular circumference. He says, here's his Andrew Tate rant for you brokies. Exactly. That's exactly what it is. Look, I tell you what, you know what's funny about this, right? I always say that many rappers literally call their oppositions broke or brokies or this and that, but little do they know, or sometimes little do they realize, they have people in their squad or people that are in their team or their allies with that are also as broke as their opposition, if not living even worse, right? In fact, the opposition that they talk about is so broke is probably broke in a way where that they not living in a destitute situation, but living good enough to provide for whoever is right around them, right? That's who they call broke in comparison to their homeboy down the street who, really got nothing going on, ain't got no motion, living off of his parents, living off of a woman, living off of whatever it is that they go through. But yeah, I only do that when people tell me, okay, well, you should leave America. Well, okay, why should I leave a country where I'm doing great in? Nico says, so you're saying that, like, you're not American. Do you consider yourself to be American? I do consider myself to be American. Think about this, right? If you were to turn off, okay, you can't look at me right now. If I was just to blacken the screen like this and all you heard was my voice, okay, what country would you realize I'm from without looking at my face? Judging by my articulation, judging by how I talk, where would I be from? The first thing you would say is, this is a distinct American accent. I have a very distinct American accent. I'm very proud of that. I'm very proud of the fact that I speak English better than most of you bums who grew up in America. That's just what it is. I'm sorry if you don't like that. I'm sorry if that hurts your feelings. He says, I think you were a white Midwestern news anchor. There you go. There you go. Because you know what's funny, Marty? The most common American accent is the Midwestern accent, right? So that is the most common American accent. The New York accent is a little bit more extreme. The West Coast accent is a little bit more extreme because there's a lot of exaggeration, like especially with the enunciation of pronunciation out here in the West Coast. You usually hear a lot of surfer dudes kind of talk like that, like, yeah, man, like there's this hyper emphasis on every, you know what I mean? This is kind of how Californian surfers talk. And then obviously the ghetto urban culture side of it, there's, an Ebonics that is primarily influenced by the South due to the migration of many African Americans that come from the South and then moving into the West Coast. So there it is, guys. I am literally as American as they come. But at the same time, I'm also very proud of being Muslim. I live a very conservative Muslim life. I don't smoke, I don't drink, I don't do drugs. I fast during Ramadan. I observe all my 5 prayers if I could. I live the life, I walk the walk, and I talk the talk. And Marty knows for a fact, I'm as Muslim as they come, and I don't even gamble. And I think Marty knows why I'm saying what I'm saying right now, because me and him sort of have this inside joke with that banter that we have going on. But you know what I mean? It's nothing but, harmless banter, British banter, as they say. And there's a little clue right there. So, okay, so he said, You said you're Muslim first, America second. You're saying you got a good living from this country. Maybe America should be first then. Okay, John, you know what, John? You know what, John? You make a very good point there. You know what, John? I don't agree with what you're saying, but you make a very good point. Mr. Pink from Scotland. All right, man. Shout outs to the Scots, man. Shout outs to the UK and Ireland. Bro, I love Scotland. I love Ireland. I love England. I love all the Celts and all the Anglos, man. You know what I mean? You guys are awesome, man. Much love to all my my white boys in the UK. You know what I mean? So that's another thing about me too, bro. I'm you know, I am what my moderators in this chat call me as the race whisperer, right? Like you would be surprised if you're tapping in for the first time. A lot of you would be surprised of who I know, who I'm with, and then a lot of you would be surprised of my life experience and the vast contradictions that sort of come with it. Well, I wouldn't say contradictions, but yeah, he says because that's what you want to believe. Okay, so going back to John Zeal, what he says, you said you made a pretty good living off of this country. Maybe you should be America first. But this is what I argue with you, John Seal. My argument with you is that I think most people who are religious and do good in life, oftentimes they attribute their grace and their goodness through God. They attribute their success through God. They attribute their you know what I mean? So you're going to have to contend with that, right? Like, I get what you're saying. Yes, this, don't get me wrong, man. I'm very thankful for what this country has given me. But at the same time, I tend to believe that many of that is through my own will, and through that own will inspired by, you know, Allah Almighty. So for those of you that are religious, you put your higher power first. Yes, Brad Pitbull, yes, that is correct. And for America, you put Israel's higher power first. Yeah, that's true. That's the unfortunate truth about America, isn't it, Mr. Monkey? Nico says, a man doesn't say he's Muslim first in a predominantly Christian country like America. When he says he won't fight for an Islamic state, he must be question his interest aligned with them. Okay, elaborate on that. I did say that I would not fight for, you know, some kind of terrorist organization that's against America. I've been, you know, very adamant in that. What else did you say? Okay, you saying that America is a predominantly Christian nation. I agree with that. Myron Gaines has mentioned this in his chat, saying that, hey, you know what? America is a predominantly Muslim country, and I agree with him on that. He says, is this about UFC or the ICE thing? Both. If you want to talk about UFC, we will actually talk about UFC in the 45-minute mark, okay? So here's a couple of things that I wanted to say about the ICE shooting, right? There's a lot of ambiguity that comes with this, okay? There's a lot of ambiguity that comes with this. He says, let's talk about Gaza ceasefire under Trump administration. That's when people get educated. So, Nico, I want to tell you about the ceasefire, right? There really is no ceasefire, and this is coming from a neutral perspective, right? Because those people in that part of the world are always going to fight. If there was a real ceasefire going on, they would have asked Hamas to lay down their arms, and you know that's not going to happen. People are not, Hamas are not going to lay down their arms, and then people of Israel are not going to let up. So, you know, something has to give, and as a result of that, you're just going to continue to see these continuous wars and, you know, so on and so forth. So, yeah, politicians are morons, people are morons, he says, yes. So, okay.
These ICE situations, and you notice how it's not police. Now, let's actually talk about training, because the biggest thing I'm seeing in all of these ICE situations. And you notice how it's not police officers, it's not sheriffs, it's not federal marshals that are causing this problems. It's all coming from ICE.
They are very smart, because here's the thing, right? Some Jews, not all, some of them are part of the Semitic heritage. Arabs are part of the Semitic heritage. I mean, listen, I'm part of the Semitic heritage, so that kind of explains a lot of my IQ in comparison to a lot of you. So I really think most of what we see is all for show. Yes, I totally agree with that to a certain extent. To a certain extent. I think that things do happen for a great reason, but I think there's also nuances that come with that.
Now, why may that be? Welcome back to the channel, everybody. And chaos has erupted yet again in Minneapolis, as just this morning, as of a couple of hours ago, there has been yet another ICE-involved shooting, leading to the death of yet another American citizen. And
so this is the troubling part about all of this, right? I need you guys to understand that American citizens are also getting killed in this whole entire process, right? That is what is troubling the most out of all of this. I need you to understand that. Okay, these are not illegal aliens. These are not gang members. And even if they were, they still are American citizens, or by the very least should be protected under our laws here. Nico, Sean Boy says, hello, how you doing, my man? Nico says, and why shouldn't most European countries betrayed them and sold them out? Who are you talking about? Sean Boy says, you are like a patriot to America. Would you wear a t-shirt with an American flag eagle to it? I tell you what. What do you think? Right there, Captain America. I will say, though, so just so you know, okay? You know what I mean? But, yeah, I just wanted to show you that for a bit. Yeah, dude, I'm not like all out there like that with patriotism per se, right? Like, I'm not gonna go out of my way to, like, make myself a target. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not gonna wear the stars and stripes and, like, just for the heck of it. Like, I have gone to the beach and worn all American trunks, right? Gone to the beach with just all American trunks and just chill out in the beach. He says, I bought one on Team U. It's cool. Sean Boy, you put time in. Okay, he's asking if you put time in the military. He says, government agents do a job. There may be illegal immigrants. Don't be an idiot. Well, okay. I mean, that's your own opinion. He says, no, I was never in the military. I'm from Ireland, not U.S., bro. Well, you know what? Ireland does have their own military, but it's very small and very close-knit type units that they have going on there. He says the American flag is cool. Like, I think it looks like the best. Yeah, man. Yeah, it definitely does. It definitely has a nice colors. He says the British flag looks really nice too, but unfortunately, I wouldn't wear them. No, and you would probably get jumped where you're from wearing something like that. You know what I mean? That's like that's like an Inglewood Blood showing up in all red in in a Long Beach Crip neighborhood. Victory says, is there a big illegal immigration problem in Ireland, Sean Boy? Yes, I would say there is, and then there's Sean Boy right there confirming that.
While this is breaking, we don't have all the information yet. There's a lot of good camera footage that we're going to go through from a bunch of different angles. We're going to break this down together. ICE officers who are panicking and doing dumb shit in the streets. Well, let's find out together, shall we? And
look, I think there is an aspect of panicking that comes from these officers, right? Remember, they're only training 47 days, right? In comparison to other armed forces, other paramilitary organizations in the United States, right? The Marine Corps, 13 weeks. Special forces, even longer. Navy SEALs, even longer. Delta Force, even longer. right? And they are proficient at what they do. And then here's ICE. It just seems that ICE is the only one that's really making any of these mistakes. I mean, cops do make mistakes, but that's also indicative of the lowering standards that they've had going on for a while. He says, yes, there's a big illegal immigration problem over here in Europe, not in Poland and Hungary, though they are not accepting them. Okay. And
We also have a
Greece
great
neither.
new addition to the subscribe help not look good for ICE agents. Now, there's been some initial footage, probably most of you have seen.
Yeah, the Jamaican flag is cool too, especially if you're a stoner.
And it's gone viral, but some new.
He says the Irish flag trunks would look silly to wear. It's too bright. Well, you know, Conor McGregor did have something like that in the Floyd fight, I think, right? Or no, I think he was just an all white, but there was a hint of green and orange to it. He says, but blue, white, and red always matches and goes well together. Facts.
Breaking footage from a camera angle right on top of this thing has just come out. So we're going to look at all this, break it down together, and see what we think, guys. All right, so let's jump into it. First thing we're going to do, let's just look at the footage and break it down. All right, so this is the main footage everybody's seen. I'm going to talk about some things as we work our way through it.
They're doing too much, man, and they keep pushing people, you know?
Rules, commands, MCP servers, subagents, modes, hooks, tools. There's a lot of...
All right, some things to notice.
He says, yeah, you're right. In some parts of Ireland, you would get jumped for wearing British merchandise. Even in some parts of Northern Ireland, for wearing Irish merchandise, you could get jumped also.
So right here, this is going to be important. See this woman in the pink? She's actually got her camera out. She is right on top of them. She's actually the one that just put out the footage that just dropped that we're also going to look at next. But first, some things to notice, okay? You have what looks to be about 7 ICE agents who are working on apprehending this individual. From what we've seen so far with this specific video that's gone viral, not a lot of context to what happened here. We're going to get more context as we look at a different angle. But let's see what happens.
Yeah, David Hay used to wear a lot of Union Jack stuff. Yeah, if you remember back in the days with David Hay.
You can see he's on the ground. You've got about 4 or 5 ICE officers all trying to detain him.
So here's a problem that I see with this, right? Why do you need this many people to detain one person, right? Now, there's a lot of ambiguity going on here. Also, please keep in mind, with the shooting that's going on here, these guys could have accidentally shot one of their own guys. Sean Boy says, Australian flag is pretty cool too in New Zealand. Yeah, they look kind of identical, right? Although there is a slight difference in details to the New Zealand flag as opposed to the Australian flag.
You see this ICE officer, looks like he's beating him with, I don't know, maybe even his weapon. Can't tell. That is when the first gunshot rings out. You've got this guy, ICE officer, who just turns and runs because he's panicked out of his mind. We're not sure who has laced the first shot here, but I want you...
Well, Libya is more of like a stateless entity right now, so really they don't have a flag per se.
to watch this. Watch these 2 officers here, okay? As you can see, he's already been shot multiple times. He's already unconscious. He's probably already dead. Watch what these officers here do as the rest of them run away like scattered rats.
What the fuck?
These officers then lace about 7 more shots into his dead body.
Okay, so that's where that gets a little bit weird, right? They start shooting even after the fact that they shot him already, right? Which tells you there is a certain level of fear that these agents were working under. Look, here's something you got to understand, right? In a gunfight, you never know how you will do until you get there. You never know. You never know, because a gunfight is not like what you see in the movies. It's not like watching an action movie. It's not like watching, you know, a gangster movie or anything like that. There is some real consequences that can happen. He says he was he handcuffed too? No, he wasn't. That's what they were trying to do. They were trying to handcuff him. And they also took out the gun out of his holster. Right here, look.
Back up and watch these two officers again. That was the first shot, I believe, by this officer here. Now let's watch again the aftermath. He's already dead at this point, probably.
Yes, Marty, but I'm not going to say whether street or deployment, though.
This officer.
I'll let you take a guess which one, whether it's one of them or both of them. I'm going to keep that a mystery.
Sure.
But the answer primarily is yes, right? To the degree of what it's worth, yes. The answer will be always yes on that. But at what capacity, we'll keep that a mystery for only Allah to know.
This last officer puts about 7 bullets in him when he's obviously already dead on the ground. Yeah, that's just some things to think about before we get to the other footage. But also there is context to this, right?
All right, so what is the context with this, right? The fact that all these officers were crowding him, what they are doing is creating a scenario for where there is no good angle or view to really understand what is going on. M16A2 service rifles, the standard weapon at the time of the Marine Corps and most infantry groups. Obviously now they are gearing towards the M4s, right? Whereas before in the mid 2000s, the M4s, the smaller version of the M16A2 service rifle, has been converted into an infantry weapon, whereas before M4s were only used by special forces. So now everybody has M4s. I know a lot of Marines that are deployed to, let's say, embassy duty, right? That is what they use now. Primarily, that is what they use in infantry groups now. So speaking of which, here's something you got to understand, right? So they created a space to where it becomes very ambiguous for people to see what is really going on. And with that, it creates room for them to not only put themselves in potential danger, but also at the same time create a space and barrier for people to not really see what's going on. Now look, here's the thing. All ICE agents wear masks, right? So in this case, you don't even know who the real shooter is. And you know what this reminds me of is when they took out the rapper, Draco the Ruler, right? Draco the Ruler was up on stage, right? He made this song called El-Kheer, right? Draco the Ruler is a Crip-affiliated rapper. And he made a song against Inglewood Bloods, and guess what? The Inglewood Bloods showed up at his concert. And as a result of that, they surrounded him like 100 Bloods on stage, right? So now you got 100 people swarming, a group of people. You don't see what's going on. They ended up killing him, and before you know it, the shooters had already drove off, into the highway, whether it was the 405 or the Highway 5 or whatever freeway was nearby the facility that they were hosting this concert or this party at. And yeah, till this day, there is no conviction of Draco's death, and that's what it is. He says, I think AK-47 is popular in Libya and the Middle East. Yes, I think AK-47s was made in Russia. The reason why it's popular in the Middle East is because it never jams, right? When you are out in the desert, see, here's the thing, right? For Western forces to come into the Middle East, they plan on doing that for a temporary moment of time, right? Whereas if you're actually living there, you're going to have to use an AK because sometimes, sand can get right into the bullets and into the chambers and basically get your weapons stuck. So, Trump 2028. Okay.
I don't want to leave anything out. And that is... The big thing you're going to see is they found a firearm on him. And so I'm already seeing the please tread on me daddy crowd, MAGA, say, oh, well, this was justified automatically because he had a gun on him. Well, that's actually not true in America. It turns out in America we have what's called the Second Amendment. For those of you who don't know what the Second Amendment is, it's a constitutional right that allows you to bear arms, firearms. And when I look at this firearm, this becomes very, very interesting to me. I'm always interested in character profiles and these types of things. And we're going to look at the individual here who got shot in a second as well. When I look at this firearm, very nice firearm, very nice SIG. He's got a SIG red dot sight on it. What this tells me is this is most likely someone who is pretty serious about firearms. Probably does a lot of shooting, takes this seriously. It's not some, shitty Glock that's had its serial number shaved off. So I would assume this is someone who has a concealed carry permit. Most likely, I'm going to guess a veteran as we look at who this was. Now, this is the man who was shot. And interesting to me because this looks like every veteran ever, right? It looks like you've got your typical maybe 5'11" style khaki tactical pants, Patagonia jacket maybe, and, ball cap, beard, concealed carrying a nice firearm, red dot sight on it. Like, this kind of screams veteran to me, but we're going to have to wait and see. But to my point, I'm not really seeing the terrorist gangbang.
Yeah, the Desert Eagle, though, you got to really put some force behind it, though, because it will cock you back like, boom! Yeah, you really got to have a strong shoulder game to fire that one.
Character profile by this gentleman so far. Now, luckily, this woman's camera footage was just released, and this is the most important footage we're going to see by far. This is her. She's got the camera right there on top of all of this happening. Let's take a look at that. And actually, real quick, because I just came across this right now as filming, it looks like, and this was my guess, that Minneapolis police say he was a gun owner with a valid permit to carry. And again,
there it is. Valid gun owner with a permit to carry.
Not surprising based off of the character profile, the weapon that he was carrying, etc. All right, so here's the angle from the woman in the pink that we haven't seen yet. This is the new footage, and tells a very kind of interesting story here. Kind of hard to see what's going on, but let's actually see. It gives the context of how this entire thing actually started. So what you have here is you have a woman here. I'm assuming this is a protester. You've got the man who eventually gets killed who's standing in between these people here, and this green cap is an ICE agent. And let's see what happens here. So you see immediately this ICE agent runs up, shoves this woman to the ground in the pavement. I'm not sure what type of police work this.
So that's the problem in and of itself, right? This kind of goes into the aspect of why would ICE need to escalate these things. Obviously, for this guy, Alex just react in that kind of way in response to getting shoved.
Is supposed to be. He's not even trying to detain her at the moment, just runs up and shoves her to the ground. And then here's the guy who eventually gets shot. He steps in between the ICE agent and the woman that was just thrown to the ground, and it looks like he's trying to stop him, and then the ICE agent begins to pepper spray him. And it's hard to tell what's happening here. Here's the one that was thrown down. Here's the guy who's eventually killed. ICE agent's here. It looks like he's trying to shield her from being pepper sprayed. Hard to tell, though. And again, the ICE agent continues to mace them both. Hard to tell what's happening here. I can't tell if he's trying to shield her or what's happening, but you can see all of these ICE agents are now rushing on top of them.
I think what's going on here is he's trying to get on all fours, and they're trying to shove him away from the woman.
So now they're attempting to detain him. She's still on the ground. And it looks like she's trying to be detained as well, and then you have all the ICE officers on top of him.
Fuck people! What's wrong with you? Honestly!
I'm trying not to cry. Just like, I hate suffering. I've suffered.
Now, I want to look at the number of people here because it's going to become important. You've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, potentially 6, 7 ICE agents, at least 5 ICE agents just on top of, again, the one individual eventually gets killed here. And we'll talk about why that's important here in a second, but let's watch the rest of this. So again, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people holding him down and detaining him. This guy just pulled his gun out. He's now holding his gun one-handed in his hand. I believe he's the one that lets off the first shot, right on top of everybody. And as obviously we can see, round horseshoe circle, they're just lacing his dead body in the street right now. All right, now I want to talk about some important things here that I'm noticing. Again, with any of these ICE situations, you're seeing a massive lack of training, you're seeing panic.
Yeah, I'm going to have to agree. There's a lot of lack of training that goes into these ICE agents, right? 47 days. Look, Donald Trump, 47th president, he thought it was a good idea to just let him have 47 days of training and then let him off into the streets, right? There's just a lot going on that you need. You know what? Even when cops pass the academy, they still go through a probationary period, right? None of this is going on with ICE, right? There's just no oversight. It felt like a rushed project, right? They needed to get this done. They needed as many ICE agents as they needed to fill the quota, and as a result, they just got a subpar group of sample people in their ranks. So who is this guy, Alex Pretty, right? Let's really analyze and take a look at who this guy is. Greg Bovino, CPA agent who shot, was on the ground, had a split-second decision. Okay.
Multiple videos from different angles of that shooting from yesterday, and at no point is he seen Brandon.
I'm sorry, repeat that, please.
We have seen multiple videos from the incident yesterday from different angles, and at no point do we see Alex Pretty brandishing a weapon. DHS Secretary Kristi Noem said that he was brandishing a weapon, and in the video we see him on the ground with his hands on his head. We see an officer leaving what it appears to be with the weapon after he extracted it from Pretty's waist area. Did the officers see the weapon? Did they see him brandishing the weapon at him?
Sure. Many videos out there, many different accounts that you may see, that I may see, that anybody here may see. That, folks, is why we have something called an investigation, to take what you're talking about, to take those videos, to take witness statements, to take officer statements, all those minute details that will paint a true picture, not a freeze frame concept, and paint a larger picture of what really happened. That is why we investigate, so we can get to the truth, so there's not speculation. Speculation after 24 hours, you've got a lot of speculation in there. That officer, let's think of what those agents were doing on that scene, making a split-second decision. You had 24 hours to try and armchair quarterback things. That agent had a split second to make a decision.
Which means this agent is going to be let go free, okay? And he already has. There's no investigation pending against him. There is no warrants against him. There is nothing against him. And here's the harsh truth that a lot of you have to understand. This cop or this agent or whatever it is that you want to call him, because many people doubt that ICE agents are cops or real agents to begin with, but to any degree, nothing is going to happen to him, because nothing has already happened to him. They could have already indicted him. There was none of that. There could have been an impending investigations. There is none of that going on. He's going to be let go of free, and a lot of people are going to be very upset at that. I'm sorry if you're going to be very upset at that, but the reality is that they can prove beyond a reasonable doubt that he was a threat. He had a gun. Yes, you're allowed to have a gun, but guess what? You had a gun at the wrong place and at the wrong time. And not only that, I need you guys to understand something about ICE agents, right? Many of these guys are no different than cops, and many cops are no different than gangbangers. In fact, the dopamine that they seek, the fact that they both get bored, I'm talking about cops and gangbangers, and I'm talking about people who are adrenaline seekers, adrenaline junkies. They have the same personality in terms of wanting to F you up if it really came down to it. Now, why am I mentioning that? Because the way that ICE is being portrayed right now, there's a portion of the American population that see them as the enemy. And to an ICE agent, in the fair and context that I'm trying to give you, the objective context that I'm trying to give you and trying to make you understand from their point of view, is that they are seen as the enemy, and they see now the population that's against them as their enemy as well. So there's an oppositional defiance that is going on here. As a result of that oppositional defiance, they create this desire and this sense of anxiousness and looking forward to the fact that they can meet these oppositions on the streets and possibly do something very violent to them. That is why it's no coincidence that all of these things are happening. It's not a coincidence at all. So I want you to put yourself in the corner of the ICE agents, right? Everyone hates you. Everyone is angry at you. Everybody wants you out. And now you are assaulted. You are slapped around. You are disrespected. I would not take that. I would not take such disrespect. This is why I could never be a law enforcement official or member or anything like that, because I would absolutely react in a very horrible manner, and I would not take too kindly to being disrespected. By the end of the day, ICE agents are human beings, and human beings are flawed. People are also flawed. People are hyper-skeptical of the world, as well as they should be. People have always been hyper-skeptical to a certain extent, and there's a healthy sense of skepticism that you sort of need in terms of surviving and in terms of just understanding what is in front of you. You need to have a little bit of that. But at the same time, it's gotten to the point where it's exacerbated, and now we're in this situation where the country is more divided than it ever has been as a result, and the distrust comes into that factor, right? You don't trust these ICE agents. These ICE agents don't trust you. They have a high propensity in wanting to F people up, and you just happen to be there, and you just happen to present yourself as an oppositional force. Now, with that said, I'm not excusing anything that happened with Renee Good, nor am I excusing what is happening here. I am merely stating to you the facts. Okay? Two things can be correct at the same time. It is correct that there are ICE agents out there that mean well, that are serving in good faith, and maybe because of the fact that they're not getting proper training, that they're not executing properly to the satisfaction of what the citizens may expect. But then the other side of that is, no matter how much training you get, whether you are a police officer, whether you are a Navy SEAL, whether you are a firefighter, whatever it is that you do as a first responder or as somebody that is a man of action and service, a lot of these things are compromised. A lot of these things are compromised because we are human beings with flaws, and anything is bound to happen at any given time. That's the unfortunate thing about it. Yeah, that is the unfortunate thing about it. All right, so Ali Khan says, LOL, everyone thought 324 was a scam. He says, good. Ghostbuster says, how you doing, brother? Very good, man, very good. Glad to see you guys popping up. And by the way, you're just in time because we are going to start talking about UFC 324 right now, and then UFC 325 after. He says, because Armin is better than both. It was a shitty card. Okay, because Armin is better than both. Okay, got it. All right. Okay, so it's UFC hour right now, right? In the next hour that we're going to talk about right now, it's going to be UFC. So here we go. All right, so UFC in the next 20 seconds or so. All right, perfect timing. Now, here we are. UFC 324 is in the books. Unfortunately, we did not get Amanda Nunes and Kayla Harrison, but we did get a whole bunch of great fights regardless, because that is what the UFC does. Even if there is an injury going on, there's people that are willing to fill up these spaces of these cards and give us the best show possible. So it starts off correct. Okay, Ty Miller taking on Adam Fouguet. Literally in the last second of the first round, okay, gets a TKO, right hook, knee, standing TKO. It was all she wrote from there. Josh Hockett, right afterwards, does the same thing. All right, like literally the same type of finishing sequences. 459. They said that it was 457, but who's counting? Denzel Freeman did some pretty good wrestling for, you know, a brief moment of time, but then the next thing you know, Josh Hockett was able to just outgrind him and then ground and pounded him to retirement. And that wasn't even the best part of the fight. The best part was his post-fight reaction, calling out Waldo, who later fought on the card, and did his little Chael Sonnen bit. I mean, a lot of people thought it was cringe. A lot of people didn't like it. They thought that it was, you know, Colby Covington wannabe. But by the end of the day, man, we need more like this in the world of MMA. Alex Perez gets a knockout against Charles Johnson. Man, that was a back and forth fight as well. Left hook to finish, 3-16 in the first round. Nikita Krylov, here's another fight that was going back and forth as well, right? Then out of nowhere, Nikita Krylov gets an overhand right and ground strikes to finish it off. In the third round, like literally as soon as the fight was about to end, right? A lot of these last second sequences that have gone on in the Josh Hockett fight and also the fight before that with Ty Miller, same thing with this, but it was literally like just 3 seconds before the fight was going to end. So they literally went the whole 15 minutes minus the 3 seconds that was cut off because of, it was one of those buzzer wins, right? Just on the buzzer wins. Auti Gautier, right? A lot of hype behind this guy, right? The Cameroon monster. You can't knock them all out, man. You can't knock them all out. He was close to knocking him out. He was rocking him all over the place. Almost finished him in the first round, but he had to fight on because, well, you can't knock everybody out. That's just what he's going to learn as he moves up some levels in here. Omar Nurmagomedov gets a unanimous decision against Davison Figueroa, just as exactly as how I would predict. Davison's very hard to finish. He's a former champion, but it was a great test for Omar Nurmagomedov. I think it would be a great matchup against him and Peter Yan. That's going to be a good matchup, considering that Merab is no longer champion. John Silva against Arnold Allen. Man, great back and forth, right? I love the energy from John Silva. I may not necessarily like him as a person, but you know what? He's got he's got great skills, right? How about when he stepped on Arnold Allen, like literally stepped on his back while he was on the ground, and oh man, it was just like absolute disrespect. Absolute disrespect. But it was a great fight, great back and forth, and we'll see what they do with John Silva next. I'd like to see him with Movsar Evloev. I think that would be a good matchup. Natalia Silva gets a unanimous decision against Rose Namajunas. Very controversial win, but he says, funny you say that because I completely agree. Not a fan of Silva as a person, but you got to respect his skill set. Facts, man, facts. And you know what? The reason why a lot of us don't like him is because, let's just be honest, right? Everybody loves Bryce Mitchell. I was very careful of saying this, right? But yeah, everybody loves female... Everybody, female fight, who cares? Yeah, no one loves a female fight. Yeah, everybody loves Bryce Mitchell, man. I was very careful of saying this, but yeah, we all love Bryce Mitchell for our own reasons, right? Some of us are entertained by what he says. Some of us agree with what he says. I will neither confirm or deny my likeness or my admiration for Bryce Mitchell. But anyways, yeah, Waldo Costa and Derek Lewis, that was a great back and forth. Well, not really a great back and forth. I mean, Derek Lewis tried to throw these jumping kicks. You know, I don't know. He never really knocks anyone out with it, right? Like, the reason why none of these jumping kicks work with Derek Lewis is because he's not athletic enough. Okay, let me be honest about that, right? He doesn't knock anybody out with that kick. He just threatens them. I mean, it looks fast, but it also, you know, is not effective because he doesn't have the hip muscles to really throw kicks like that. But that was really all of his highlights in that whole entire fight. But Waldo Costa did a great job destroying him. He says, what happened with that fight? Did Derek just get clipped? It looked weird. You know what? It was a counter shot, right? Very similar to what Anderson Silva did to Forrest Griffin. That's what it looked like. It was a counter, right? Floyd Mayweather does a lot of these counter straight hooks, straight shots a lot, right? These counter crosses. That's just what it was. You know, he got caught slipping, and yeah. It was a counter shot, right? And sometimes counter shots don't look like they hit you hard, but it's always the punches that really knock you down. It's really the punches that you don't see that knock you down the most. Sean O'Malley against Song Yadong, man, very controversial. Very, very, very controversial, man. Because we're watching it and we're thinking, man, Song Yadong's going to win this fight, man. He has the wrestling going on and this and that. But Sean said something in a press conference. He said, you know what, man? I didn't even feel like I got hit, so I don't even know why I would lose this fight. And then that's when you realize, okay, you know what? The judges were seeing the same fight that Sean O'Malley was filling. But you know what? We live in an era right now where wrestling is not just going to win you any fights. Back in the George St. Pierre era, you take a guy down, you're winning the fight. The Josh Koscheck, time era, same era as George St. Pierre, John Fitch, they take you down, they're winning the fight. Not in modern MMA. You got to strike a little bit. Speaking of striking, that's exactly what these boys did right here. Justin Gaethje and Paddy Pimblett. Okay, now, Justin Gaethje did a very good job with stuffing those takedowns. And I'll tell you what, man. This showed that Paddy Pimblett is not on the level where he needs to be right now. He's not on that level. Not whatsoever. I don't trust Paddy in championship fights. I think Paddy has hit his ceiling. I know that Justin Gaethje was just being very gracious by saying, hey, you know what? You're going to get there, brother. You know, you did very well. Or this, that, and the other. Yeah, dude, listen, this is not George St. Pierre in the first time that he took on Matt Hughes, right? Where he got submitted against Matt Hughes when he was undefeated and finally got his first title shot. No, this is not that. He says Paddy looked awkward to fight. Paddy looks awkward to fight. So for whatever reason, Justin Gaethje was able to figure that out. You ever notice Justin Gaethje knows how to figure out awkward people? Tony Ferguson was also a very awkward fighter, but he figured him out. Now, why is it that Justin Gaethje can figure someone like Paddy out? Because here's the thing. Justin Gaethje has what you call controlled chaos. Better yet, there's a 311 song. I don't know if you guys are familiar with 311. It's a ska band, right, from out here, you know, in California, because, you know, the best musical acts are all from California. Let's just be really honest about that. But yeah, 311 has a song called Beautiful Disaster. That's literally what Justin Gaethje is. He is a beautiful disaster. He is disastrous, but his technique is beautiful. That's the best way to really describe Justin Gaethje. So that madness and that disaster can match as like a rocks, paper, scissors situation. He is the paper to the awkward rock of Tony Ferguson and the awkward rock of Paddy Pimblett, right? He makes that style blend in so that he can manipulate whatever it is, like, so he blends in that style of awkwardness, because Justin is a little bit awkward as well, but at the same time, because he has knockout power along with that awkwardness. And also, let's not forget, wrestling also won Justin Gaethje this fight, right? Remember all the locks that he had on him, the front locks and this and that. I mean, oh wow, that was brilliant. It's a brilliant position, because from that position, Paddy can't do anything on the ground. Let's say Paddy is, you know, he's a fight, you know, he's a jiu-jitsu fight ace, right? He knows how to use jiu-jitsu in an MMA setting, right? Not every jiu-jitsu guy who comes into MMA knows how to do that, but Paddy, he is an MMA fighter through and through, and a jiu-jitsu guy second, but he makes jiu-jitsu look easy in MMA. So Justin puts him in that front lock position. He can't do anything with it. He can't submit him from there. He can control him. That's wrestling 101. And one of my biggest concerns going into this fight was thinking, you know what, maybe Justin is not necessarily going to use his wrestling to his fullest potential. Boy, was I wrong. Justin showed exactly why wrestling is one of his main pedigrees. Wrestling is Justin Gaethje's thing, man. He just doesn't show it because he would rather strike and bang with you. So that's that. All right, so UFC 325. That is the next thing that we're going to talk about right now, right? UFC 325. This time in Australia, okay? This is going to be an Australian card, because it's headlined by Volkanovski. So let's take a look at the full card for UFC 325. Let's see here. All right, UFC 325. Let's start from the very top. Now, a lot of people are not too happy with this rematch, right? Because we've already seen how this goes. We've seen that Volkanovski can beat Diego Lopez. But at the same time, it could be that Diego Lopez is ready to catch up to Volkanovski. You see, it is true that Alexander Volkanovski was in his prime, or still is in his prime, at least before he fought Islam, or at least before he fought, you know, whoever it is that he needed to fight to become a champion. But rest assured, Diego Lopez is younger, and Volkanovski is getting older. There could be a catch-up here, but I highly doubt it. I think Volkanovski is going to out-wrestle him. I think Volkanovski is going to win on points. And the majority of the reason why he's going to win on points is because of the wrestling. He can get outboxed. He can get outstruck. But he'll always have the wrestling in his back pocket. So Volkanovski is either going to win by striking points or wrestling points, and that's how this fight is going to go. Benoit Saint-Denis and Dan Hooker, that right there is going to be a riot of a fight. I'm telling you right now, that's going to be fight of the night. It has fight of the night written all over it. I think Dan Hooker is going to catch him. He has experience being in these wars. And Benoit Saint-Denis can't really out-wrestle Dan Hooker or put him down in any kind of way. I'm going to go with Dan Hooker. Rafael Fiziev versus Mauricio Ruffi. I'm going to go with Rafael Fiziev, unanimous decision. Tai Tuivasa versus Taliesin Teixeira. I'm going to go with Taliesin Teixeira in this one. I think he's going to get a first-round knockout against Tai Tuivasa. Tai Tuivasa is a 50-50 fighter. You never know what he's going to offer you. You never know what he's going to do. But you know for a fact that he's going to be in some wars. And this fight is going to be a war. It's heavyweight. Anybody can knock anyone out. And I think Taliesin is going to get a first-round knockout. They're going to come in there really fast and furious. But I think Taliesin is going to come out on top with that first-round knockout. Killen Skilled versus Jamie Mullarkey. Wow, that's a good fight right there, man. Killen Skilled just had that crazy knockout not too long ago against Jamie Mullarkey. I'm going to have to go with Killen Skilled on this one, right? Jamie Mullarkey has had some wars, but he can crack. Yeah, I'm going to go with Killen Skilled on this. No, you know what, man? I'm going with Jamie Mullarkey. I think Jamie Mullarkey's experience is going to play factors in here. Junior Tafa versus Billy El-Kheer. I'm going to go with Billy El-Kheer. Younger prospect, right? Doesn't make mistakes as often as Junior Tafa does. Cam Roston versus Cody Brundage. I'm going to go with Cody Brundage on this one. I think he's had much tougher competition coming up in the United States as opposed to Cam Ralston. Like, a lot of these guys are not really that tested in Australia, right? If you look at the ranks right there, the world rankings, he's number 38 and Cam is like number 49. So a world of difference. Okay, middleweight division. How about this, man? Jason Malcolm versus Torrey Finney. Yeah, that's a good one right there. Undefeated Torrey Finney. Yeah, I'm going to go with Torrey Finney on this one, man. You know what, man? Yeah, this will go to a decision, but I'm going to go with Torrey Finney. I just think that, you know, the undefeated guy, there's a reason why he's undefeated, and, you know, he's already ranked, you know, as opposed to Jacob Malcolm. Now, once again, they don't really face a lot of top competitions in, you know, in their part of the world, as opposed to Torrey Finney, who's, look, you're just going to have tougher competition here in America, you know, especially in the regional scene. Jonathan Metcalf taking on Oban Elliott. Ooh, that's a good one. That's another 50-50 fight. I'm going to have to go with Oban Elliott on this one. I just think that Oban Elliott has faced tougher competition, and he's got a strong team behind him. Kyan Offley taking on Yizia. I'm going to have to go with Kyan Offley on this one. The Chinese are unproven in world-level MMA, right? Just really unproven. So, yeah, I'm going to have to go with Khan. Let's take a look at where Khan has been in his career. 7-4-1. Has a win in Hex Fighting. Okay, so this is his UFC debut. All right. Now, as opposed to the Chinese guy, Yiza, 26-5, very decorated, Okay, but he's fought in the UFC. Okay, yeah, I might have to go with him instead, right? You know, he's got the longer UFC experience. And, okay, road to UFC bout. How about this? We got a championship between these two guys right here. Okay. And then a road to UFC bout, tournament champion. Okay, so this is a tournament matchup that they got going on. Okay. All right, so I wonder if that is also going to be included in the whole entire card, or maybe that's separate from the whole card or part of the prelims. Let's find out. Let's find out what that is. So, okay, so they are added onto that as, okay. All right. So that is all in there. Okay, so that is all in there. Okay. What is the start time for this card right here? The start time for UFC 326. Okay, so 3 p.m. No, okay, wait, no, the prelims. $2 p.m. Okay, so it's going to take place at 2 p.m. To be exact. Okay, so 2 p.m. this Saturday, I will be there to cover the fight. I hope you guys will be there as well. This is all that I really have for this one right now. Guys, don't forget to like and subscribe. I will see you guys in the next one, inshallah.